Da, 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 da. Yep. Okay, still no awesome sound effects for this show, but it doesn't matter because even though I bring you low budget video quality, I bring you super high budget data science. And that's why I'm here today. Welcome to another episode of This Week in AI, the show where I, Brandon Cosley of FastDataScience.ai, bring you my experience in artificial intelligence, data science, and machine learning to help interpret this crazy complex space, this crazy fast moving technology by looking at some of the top headlines that hit my inbox because I have alerts for all of these topics. I wean through those things and I bring you my perspective on where I think that information from those news headlines is applicable, is relevant, is interesting, because my goal is to help you develop a deeper understanding of how artificial intelligence impacts your life every day. Even if you're a developer, a student, a leader, it doesn't matter, because why I'm here is to help us together lower the bar of entry to asking the critical questions that we need to ask of this new technology as it increasingly affects your and my life. And I don't just do it from the perspective of somebody who has some experience up here, sort of looking down at all the folks who do the development work. Nope. Actually, I have the experience of looking from the top and the bottom because I too am a developer in data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Call me a leader with a laptop, maybe even a director with data. It doesn't matter. That experience and the fact that I keep that experience very alive today helps me dig a little deeper on these new news articles to help all of us come to a little bit broader understanding, a deeper understanding of what's really happening and why these news articles are so interesting to me. So let's go ahead and get after it for today. Today is April 15th, 2022. And for those of you who celebrate it, you're in the know. You're in the know because today is Good Friday. It is the Friday before Easter, and so why not have a cute little bunny to look at for a second? Cute little bunny in a basket. Most people probably think of this whenever they think of Easter. Ah! Oh my God! Well, as we're thinking about this, it's also the last Friday before, yep, for those of you that live in the United States, that's right, tax day. But hey, I don't want to totally ruin this show, so let's go ahead and get rid of you and, scary. All right, let's just focus on cute little bunnies in a basket before we get our noodles cooking. All right, so check it out. I've been told that, actually I got a review from a watcher, one of my almost 60 subscribers. Thank you, by the way. And they said, you know what, your show is refreshing. I thought about that for a little bit. You know what I think of when I think of refreshing? I think of water. And hey, who doesn't like water, right? So let's go ahead and get after the show that is like water. All right, today, Mr. G Scrapey brought in multiple topics, actually 6 topics. All right, 6 topics were a part of our solution today. And of those 80 articles, those 6 topics include, say 6 topics 5 times fast. I dare you. Those topics include guides and best practices in data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Grouping number 2. Okay, so this is a first in the history of this show. The long-standing, devout history that we've had. We have never seen career, education, and guidance dropping to the number 2 most frequent topic, but it's not number 1 anymore. So here, topic number 2, careers and skills. Topic number 3, machine learning for X, right? For whatever, for industry, for people, for bunny rabbits in a basket. Topic number 4, methods. We had a lot of really interesting papers this week on some cool methods, some very advanced methods being applied in some very interesting ways. Topic number 5, my favorite topic. This is definitely what caught my eye, the Val Kilmer AI effect, and we'll get to that. And then topic number 6 is artificial intelligence done Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in and talk about the articles that I found to be most interesting this week. And number one is using data science to reshape the venture capital industry. Okay, so first, the thing that really caught me about this was venture capital, right? All of us, particularly those of us who are developers or leader in AI, we see the craziness happening with venture capital money and how much money is being thrown at artificially intelligent companies. Well, this article is really interesting and awesome because it actually turns the tide a little bit and forces the venture capital industry to look at itself and ask the question, you're spending all this money on companies that do AI for other things. Well, what can AI do for you? That's right. This article tackles how artificial intelligence is going to increasingly shape the venture capital industry. So, what are some of the things that really made me care about this article? Number one, look, venture capital is going to meet AI because everything is going to meet AI, whatever that means. Promising applications of how venture capitalists and venture capital firms can be leveraging machine learning, data science, and artificial intelligence technologies to help improve what they do. Number one, getting ahead of trends. I love this one. This is really interesting. I think not just for venture capital, but a lot of entrepreneurs are very interested in these applications. And there are so many different creative ways that we can use data science to try and get ahead of different trends, especially when you think about the internet as your data source. So getting ahead of those trends, understanding competitors more effectively, another area that I think is also super interesting, great applications for data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to better understand how competitors relate to one another, what the competitor landscape is. I've got tons of ideas for how we could use data science there. Number three, better initial valuation. So imagine being able to use a predictive model that has all kinds of features available to it that have been trained to help predict what the true valuation of a company is or a competitor is. That gives venture capitalists a little bit more reasonable information that relies less on their gut to be able to accurately identify how much money they should actually be spending on their assets. Number four is talent sourcing. So one of the hard things that you get into, particularly in the tech space, is trying to find the right talent to help support the build of these different venture capitalist companies, right? These companies that venture capitalists are investing in, finding the right talent to support those companies as they grow and scale. It's tough. It's really tough. It's tougher today than it ever was before. Skills in AI are at a premium right now. And this is an area where AI may be able to help itself. Okay, all right, moving on to article number 2 today. Article number 2, 3 steps to train more citizen data scientists. So one of the things that I kind of put out there in my social network this week was, what is the role of a citizen data scientist? Where should citizen data scientists as a concept be placed in business and in society at large? And should we be championing efforts to create more citizen data scientists? And what's the consequence of that? Now, I think that ultimately the concept is good. Anytime that we can lower the bar of entry into understanding how this very vast, ubiquitous, and impactful field is affecting our lives and giving people the ammunition that they need to be able to question those impacts, understand them on some level, and maybe even contribute to how they're shaped. I think that that's really important and that's fundamental, and that captures the broad sense of what we mean by citizen data science. But in a company's perspective, citizen data science really refers to trying to upskill your employees and also downskill the access to the technologies enough that they can meet and actually start leveraging each other's business skills on the citizen data science side, and then data and insight driving on the sort of technology and enablement side, bringing those two things together to further support people, lots of people within a company who can now start to contribute to the data science things that happen. There are obviously some important concerns there, but this article does a really good job, I think, of identifying some of the things and characteristics to be on the lookout for those who may be good candidates, good adopters of citizen data science techniques and technologies that may help enable folks who don't have traditional data science or machine learning experience. All right, so the re-emergence of the citizen data scientist in the company. All right, this was a hot thing like maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. For me, it kind of went to sleep, but now I think it's coming back up. Certainly something that I think does need to be looked at very hard, especially as we have the presence of lots of things entering our industry that help enable citizen data scientists. Number one, you need to look for divergent thinkers, all right? People who can think creatively, who can think about bringing together two divergent ideas in a novel way that's useful. Is really the essence of what data science is. And so you need folks who have that kind of creativity. They're great candidates for citizen data scientists, but they also have to have a strong business understanding and they have to be comfortable with data, right? That's essential. You have to have folks who are comfortable with data and they're comfortable with making decisions with that data in order to promote their initiatives, in order to actually take action on some of the things that they're trying to change in those businesses. You got to be able to, in other words, communicate the business value of data being used for a decision in business and understand the complex things that can happen as a function of that and really understanding how that drives value for the business. So, citizen data scientists, I think it's a broad term, and I think it has lots of applications. It has applications to us in society. I think we need more citizen data scientists and more opportunities for us as society to become citizen data scientists or citizen AI engineers, if you will, or AI kind of practitioners. But in the company's situation, I think there's also a lot of important value to be gained, but there are some important consequences that we need to also keep in mind, like the degree of responsibility that we want to associate with somebody who doesn't truly understand building predictive models, going about and building predictive models to then have real influences on the way in which a business operates. Things that we need to keep in mind. This is a reason why you also need to have subject matter experts who can help create those translations as new insights are gleaned so we understand when those insights are valuable, when they're real and not spurious, and whenever they might actually be able to be applied in ways that are responsible. Some other funny things about this article that I really liked is the idea of democratization. We hear this everywhere, but not only democratization, low code, no code platforms and ideas help to enable the citizen data scientists to be strategic, right? So this was like a buzzword fest. All of these ideas really come together in the concept of understanding that in order to truly democratize artificial intelligence or machine learning or data science, what we need are platforms that help us, again, to kind of bring the technologies to a place where the skill sets that are required to access them can meet in the middle, but with the understanding that there needs to be responsible use of these technologies, because it's easy for us to scale our biases out of control when we're irresponsible, as we've seen from even really well-seasoned data science teams who go about deploying their solutions on millions of people. Okay, so things to think about as this concept re-emerges and comes up as, being more important with the age of no and low code data science platforms really starting to become more important and proliferating. I think these issues are going to, again, become issues that we're going to need to kind of look back at and really understand going forward. What is our governance, right? Governance structure. That's another good buzzword that got missed on this one. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into what caught my eye for this week. So, all of you who are movie fans, I'm sure you know him from this movie. All right. Who doesn't remember Val Kilmer in Top Gun? Iceman, right? Iceman. All right. My favorite was Tombstone. I'm your Huckleberry. I don't do it as good as he did. Or even maybe The Doors, right? That was one of his better, I think, acting representations. Examples, whatever. But oh man, did you guys know that here? I'm really going to date myself. He was even in Willow, right? Back in the 80s. All right. So not only is our ultimate Iceman a great actor, but he's also an innovative creator, an innovative type of person who really saw an opportunity here to work with the company. So he is no longer Iceman to me. He is now a Iceman. Okay, I told you this show is full of bad AI puns, and there's another one. I hit it with you towards the end. But here's what's really cool. Here's what caught my eye about this article. Fans of Val Kilmer can now hear his voice again thanks to artificial intelligence. The actor has partnered with a company to be able to enable him to actually replicate his own voice to kind of allow people to again hear him in his own voice. So for those of you who don't know, Val Kilmer had throat cancer. He effectively lost the ability to talk as a function of that, and went through quite a hardship, and now that he has mostly recovered, at least to my knowledge he's mostly recovered, he's had to use this voice modulator in order to communicate. And for those of you who have heard those voice modulators, they certainly don't sound like the person's original voice. They sound robotic. And so Val Kilmer has partnered with a company to bring a bit of himself back to his fans, back to his family, back to his friends. All right. So what this really gets at is the heart, actually, the technology that's driving this are deep fakes. And this is certainly a really interesting area of artificial intelligence that I've looked at before on this show. I'm very interested in seeing how this develops. But deepfakes are by and large seen as a negative thing, right? We saw this article here. AI deepfakes of Anthony Bourdain's voice are only a taste of what's coming. No pun intended. I love that. That headline is great. But, what's really interesting, right, is that these technologies, these deepfake technologies, right, which are essentially various architectures of neural nets that are being used to create and simulate, right, or replicate versions of images or audio that are similar to other things and being combined in ways that are very powerful. And some of those ways allow the sort of developers to actually manipulate an audience into believing maybe perhaps like Anthony Bourdain said something or narrated something that he never actually narrated. Well, I believe this is true, and this is what the Val Kilmer relationship with the AI company that he's working with really highlights for me is that despite the negativity of deepfakes, yes, there are some real concerns. We definitely need to have some very, very serious conversations about those concerns and keep those at the forefront of our brains as these technologies get better and better and better, which they are. But deepfakes, the idea behind them has some super positive applications, and this is just one example of that super positive application, that the positioning behind the deepfake technology can be positive. So Val Kilmer partnered with a company called Synantic Technology. It is based on deepfake architectures, so think adversarial networks, artificial neural networks that are essentially multiple models that work together, where in one case, one model is creating things, so it's generating things. And then in another case, you have another model that's trying to detect whether or not the things the first model is generating are real or fake. And what happens in that training process is there are real images or real examples of audio that are fed into that adversarial model to trick it. And so it tries to determine what's real and fake. And ultimately what the generative model is trying to do is produce things that tricks the adversarial model. So when the adversarial model performance goes way down, that means the generative model has created things that are fooling that adversarial model. So the generative model then gets used to generate new things because it now can do it at least in concept, right? It can do it in a way that will fake potentially the real thing. So this is a general conceptual idea of how this technology works, but nevertheless, what's really cool about what Synantic has done is that it goes so much deeper than just replicating Val Kilmer's voice with new words and new word sequences that he may or may not have said. And so what this technology does is it creates this really cool platform. So I went onto their website and I checked things out a little bit more deeply. And what you see is that they actually work very similarly to a traditional, sort of sound editor where you can layer on different sound clips. And then they use their AI backend to be able to manipulate those sound clips by like adding emotion, right? This is so interesting and so cool. So, they've essentially built models that allow you to take the input of a voice, right, or of a sound clip and add particular kinds of emotional changes to that sound clip to make it sound happy or sad or angry. Man, this is so interesting. Don't let my wife get a hold of this technology. She's going to make me sound like I'm always wrong. But what's really cool about it is I think at the end of the day, it shows a really positive application to deepfake technology. I think there's a lot we can learn from this, and I think there's a lot that we need to do to continue to support, more positive applications of that technology, and really being able to also govern how people are using this in the wild. Obviously, major implications when you start looking at social media and all the sort of proliferance and impacts that fake news or fake information or misinformation can have. And deepfakes could really take that to the next level. Something we're aware of, something we need to watch for. Okay, so here are the links. Thank you so much for participating with me today. Please, you know what? I'm at a point now. Share this with people. I kind of want to get it out there. I've had some really great interactions and feedback. If you've been watching me, I was just interviewed on the Manny Bernabe show earlier this week. Had a fantastic conversation about innovation and artificial intelligence. And I really look to bring a lot of that same energy to this show as I talk about these news articles. So please share, definitely give me feedback, subscribe. I'm open to all kinds of interesting interactions. I've certainly met a lot of great people ever since I've started doing a lot more of this social media stuff. So, from one old aging leader with a laptop and to back to you, I really appreciate all the support I've gotten so far. So that's it. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter if you celebrate it. And I will see you next week. Adios, everybody. All right. See, now you see.